Welcome to Grade.com Talk List. Today, Grade.com is talking with Jackie Didio from the Child and Family Network Centers. The Child and Family Network Centers is a Virginia-based network of 8 free, high-quality bilingual preschools that provide low-income children with the tools they need to succeed in school and in life. If you're new to our podcast, please press subscribe button on YouTube or any other podcast app that you're listening from, because today we're going to learn about a great organization that is providing access to education to children from different backgrounds, especially from low-income families. Hi, Jackie. Thank you for being here.
Hi, it's so great to be here today. Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. Could you please describe your organization to someone who is not familiar with your work?
Yeah, well, I think our mission really speaks to it. So thanks for sharing that first. But what really makes CFNC, or the Child and Family Network Center, special is the fact that we are such a caring, high quality preschool that does provide free preschool for low income communities. So that means that for families who don't qualify for Head Start, which is the free program that the US provides, and the families that can't afford a private preschool in the US, especially in our community in Alexandria, which is right outside of DC, it is really hard to find childcare, right? And high quality childcare. And so we really fill that gap in our city. We make sure that we provide this free service, have amazing teachers that speak in the languages of all of our students, which come from all over the world. So we have families who speak Spanish and families who speak Amharic, Arabic, Dari. There's so many beautiful languages spoken at our center, and we try hard to make sure that every single student is set up for success when they enter kindergarten the next year. So we really close that gap. And then we also provide this beautiful wraparound service. So it's not just about the in-school experience, it's about what happens with the child outside of school. So the family support that we provide, making sure that we have somewhat like social workers who provide folks with rental assistance access if they need that, food access, support with how to just set their own children up for success. So we have all of these beautiful things that come together that really weave and create a beautiful community for us.
Wow, that's wonderful. And that's a very noble cause. Understanding that in US, the gap between the wealth gap is very high, and you are targeting families from low income and providing them providing their children with access to education, as well as those parents can go and work, and you are providing assistance to build a safe space both for families within the community, within the preschool, and outside of preschool as well. How would you describe the challenges that your organization faces and the issue that you are trying to solve?
Well, I think there's so many challenges that we face as an organization. So the first and foremost this year that's at the front of all of our minds is COVID-19, right? So this global pandemic that's happening across the entire world, and how it impacts our population disproportionately versus other populations. So when we decided to open this year in the fall for our beginning of our school year, we decided we're going to open with less students in every classroom to make sure that at least the students who really needed it the most and the families that needed to get back to work in person could do so. So that's a really big challenge for us. So trying to pivot with a small team, we have under 30 team members. So we're really trying hard to make sure that we meet the needs of our families, of our teachers, and of our administrative team. So there's the three-pronged kind of challenge that we have there to ensure that we're providing equity across all of those different levels of support that we have. The other piece that has really come to the forefront of the conversation, especially in the US this year, is racial equity. After the murder of George Floyd, with the protests that happened across the country, and we're right outside of DC, so this impacted us really greatly, as it does so many other people. But I really think that for us, because we're such a diverse community, we need to make sure that we talk about this in our classrooms in a way that's inclusive and kind, and sharing that families from all over the world have different experiences learning together. So there's this beauty that comes with diversity. And then there's also the fact that we need to talk about it with our team and create safe spaces where people can just talk about different things that might have happened to them based on their race or gender, or other, things that might have happened in their life. So we really try hard to create an inclusive environment. And we actually committed to a racial equity vision this year as an organization. So I feel like those two things are some of the biggest issues that we have. And of course, our families are just facing this really big challenge as a community right now, because they do have to go to work in person. And so many times, a lot of those families have to stay at home because somebody got COVID in their family and we can't have them come to school and spread it. So there's just so many issues that have stacked on top of each other this year, including the wealth gap in our country, the opportunity gap. And those things are just getting bigger and bigger as we see this pandemic and this, other pandemic of racial inequity in the US just get deeper and deeper.
You're extremely right. This year brought, the year of 2020 brought some quite challenges, both in the education sphere and as well as in the society in general. Although we're not from US, seeing what's happening in the US has raised concerns and among the world as well. Understanding that your organization is directing these issues and teaching children from the young age about the racial importance of racial discrimination and how to make sure that they live in a society, in an equal and free society, is very important. Let's talk about how you were able to handle the pandemic in your school, in your preschool, and remain open. What some precautions that you took and that led for you being one of the role models in the education system in Virginia?
Oh, thank you so much. We're a small but mighty team, so it takes a team to do it. So it's definitely the strength of our entire team and making sure that first and foremost, everyone felt safe coming back. So as we, reopened, we did shut down last March. So I can't believe it's been a year, March 1st today, right? But we did shut down for a little while. No one knew what was going on, right? We wanted to make sure we were safe. Our teachers didn't feel safe and our admin team didn't either, and neither did our families. So we did shut down from March until June of last year. And then we slowly decided during those months of between March and June to take a stance of having a pilot program to open over the summer, which I think was really helpful for us. So we opened for 10 families, which is very small. So we're a really tiny organization, right? So we can pivot very quickly. And I think that's something that is helpful for us, especially right now, because we don't have to go through all these bureaucratic checkpoints as we open and close. So when we opened for the summer, we worked with the local city government. It's called the Alexandria Promise Initiative, and set up times to train with them, see what the public health department wanted to do in terms of making sure we had, PPE supplies available, masks. We had the right cleaning in place. We have deeper cleaning every day. We removed manipulatives from the classroom. So things like plush toys, things that couldn't be washed every day or cleaned every day. We just had to remove them. So it's weird because it's a preschool. And so you want this beautiful, gorgeous environment of being able to play and learn and, but we had to take some of that stuff out. So that's kind of heartbreaking for us sometimes, but that was important to making sure we created safe spaces. So we opened this program and we found that within this small microcosm of our team, we could actually keep a safe classroom open for the summer. So we did. We closed 1 or 2 times because of potential cases, but we were able to reopen quickly and safely. So when we decided to reopen in September of this year, we opened 7 of our classrooms for 82 of our students. And we first talked to our teachers. So we said, hey, what do you need to come back? Do you want to come back in person? And all of them had a resounding yes. I mean, they're incredible superheroes. Our teachers are just the foundation of who we are, I think, as a country. And we definitely need to honor what they do. And they decided that they were going to come back and teach. So we have 2 teachers per classroom and they wear masks every day. We have many social distancing pieces in place, physical distancing. We ask families every single day the list of, do you have any symptoms? Do you have a fever? Is anyone sick in your house? And if they say yes, we empower our teachers to turn folks away, because we have learned that by setting these very strict policies in place and creating this structure, we're able to not have to spread COVID. So we have had cases where many of our families or our teachers have had COVID-19, but because of our policies, we've been able to keep it out of the classroom, which has been wonderful. So I would say that we were able to open because of the strength of our team, first and foremost, because of our resilient community and the needs that they have. And then also because of all the safety measures we put in place as an organization. And finally, the transparent communication. So it's definitely been, I've made many mistakes. There's definitely been some challenges and failures along the way. But what we've learned as a team is the more that we just communicate and just be transparent with what's going on, the better we can mitigate any sort of sickness, illness. I think and also mental health, too. I mean, that's a big part of this, is making sure that people psychologically feel safe being in these spaces. And that's what we've been able to create.
Wonderful. I really like the responsible approach that you guys took, and the fact that you were very precautious. And also, if anyone had symptoms outside, you took the responsibility to say no for the sake of the safety of other members of the classroom. And the second challenge that you mentioned is about the racial inequality. And you mentioned that you have children coming from different backgrounds who speak, who are bilingual, who speak more than, who speak two languages besides to English. It can be Spanish, Arabic, Mandarin, and some other languages that you indicated. How do you build as an educator, and how do you build a safe space for children, especially in that young age where children are building their character, building their view of the society? How do you approach the racial discrimination and racial equality in the classroom?
It's a great question. So right now we're working on building a racial equity toolkit as an organization. So something that other organizations could potentially use as well. But, our students are, 3, 4, and 5, right? Mm-hmm. So they're really young and impressionable. And for the majority of our families, who are mostly Spanish speaking, and we want to make sure that they feel included in the education process. So I think to create kind of this foundation of equity as an organization, we just make everything feel inclusive. So whether that's who they see in the classroom, their teachers look like them, right? They can speak the same language as they do. So that's one way we do that. The other is just what, pictures they see in the classroom, and how we could still bring families into the classroom virtually. We had one mom actually call in when we were talking about jobs one day, and she called in from her job. And showed the students, what she was doing. So I think it's more about creating this sense of inclusion, and we already have diversity in our classrooms. It's just how we are. So that's kind of the foundation of who we are. And then we build on, hey, there are families from different types of cultures that celebrate things in very similar ways. They might celebrate different things, but they celebrate them in very similar ways because it's a family unit. So we really focus, and our program director, Susan Cately, is amazing. She has years and years of experience in early education, and she has really created a beautiful racial equity toolkit for us. And we're still working on it, but it's almost there. And we have these days we call culture days every month, where we bring in a book from a different culture, whether it be El Salvador, Ethiopia. We just find these authors who come from the different countries our families come from, and then we read them to the students, and then they can talk about, their different experiences they might have at home too. So I really think from an early education standpoint, it's really about just making these spaces feel like they are part of it. So they're not just seeing, as an example, if I'm just being, on like one side, they're not just seeing like white faces in the classroom, or like pictures and books of just white children. We want to make sure that we have every single type of child represented in the books that we read, in the lessons that we teach. And we use a great curriculum called creative curriculum as well. And that's really helpful with, with making sure that we have equity in the classroom. So it's definitely something we always have to work on. We're never going to be perfect in it, but I think we're getting a lot better.
That's incredible. The fact that you mentioned that we all are similar in our we are all different, however, are all similar in our own ways. The children from different backgrounds coming, however, everyone is celebrating holidays and then coming to the classroom and sharing how they're celebrating is also a great indicator and teaching that we might look different, we might speak different, but at the end of the day, we're all humans and share characteristics of kindness and inclusivity. That's wonderful. How do you see your organization growing in the next 5 to 10 years, and what do you wish to accomplish in that period?
Yeah, that's such a great question. One of the things that we've learned this year through COVID-19 is really the power of partnerships. And so we've partnered with a lot of local health organizations to make sure that our families feel safe and can access doctors. And a lot of them don't have insurance. And so how do we make sure that we have, those pieces of our community connected? And I think over the next 5 to 10 years, I would love to see, and this would be a change from this would have to start from the federal government too, but I would love to see universal pre-K in the United States. I think that is something that would be incredible. It speaks to equity. It speaks to making sure that we highlight and also empower our teachers and give them more influence in the classrooms. And so I would love to see universal pre-K roll out. So we're doing a lot of advocating. And I think that's something I would like to see as an organization too. So not just what we do in the classroom with our families, building community, and then also thinking about systems change too. So what role can we play as, folks who have been in this work for, some of our teachers have been with us for 30 years. I mean, it's a very long time. So they've seen a lot of things change in our community. So what can we learn from them? And then what can we do as a system, even if it's just as a city of Alexandria, which is such an amazing place because you can get so much done because you know so many people. This is a fairly small city. And so I would love to see us creating these systems changes that allow more families access early education, because we know if children have a solid early education, that they're cared for, that they have a safe environment, that they have these wraparound services, that they're ready for kindergarten, it's going to set them up for success for the rest of their life. And that's just something we know from research, right? And so how can we make sure as a society, and then, bringing that back down as a community, as an organization, that we are implementing what our families need by listening to them, talking to them first, and helping to make sure that we're just a conduit, right? Like we can just be this organization that's, can help lift up voices of families, but not do so in a way that's saviory or anything like that, but just be an organization that's based in equity and creating change from a systems level.
Wonderful. We would love to see the change as well, because in Europe, and I'm based in Kazakhstan, that the universal daycare is available and mostly is free. And if that would be the case in United States, that would be wonderful. And if our viewers would like to support your organization, how can they do that? And what kind of support they can provide and get in contact with you?
Yeah, well, I would love that. We need all the support we need. Our costs have gone up by 45% this year because we are in person, and we're now one of the largest preschools open in Alexandria for in-person learning. So our costs are high. So if you're interested in making a donation, we would love that. You can visit us online at cfnc-online.org. That's cfnc-online.org. And then you can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, we're CFNC Preschool. So we're a small, mighty community. We're trying to make a big difference for our families and really ensure that our students, like I said, are ready for preschool. And that's the biggest way you can support us right now. And you can also just spread the word, right? Like just share about us. We would love to be able to be known more widely because we're kind of a secret right now, right? We're a little secret in Alexandria and in our little corner of the world. So this is such a wonderful experience to be able to share what we do more broadly.
Wonderful. The links to your website and the links to your social media accounts will be provided in the description of this podcast. Thank you so much, Jackie, and for telling us about your organization. We are very proud of the work that you're doing, and we hope you and your organization will accomplish and continue supporting children from low-income families and from diverse backgrounds.
Thank you so much.
If you, for you listening, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, please press subscribe button either on YouTube or your podcast app, because it will show the algorithm of YouTube and podcast that this is an important conversation, so more people can learn about the importance of preschool for children from low-income families.